From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Colorado has an abundance of mountains named after famous men. Think Long's Peak, Mount Wilson, or Pikes Peak. Since childhood, Sarah Hahn Campbell has been fascinated by the people behind place names. But she found there was little to no information on peaks, lakes, or trails named after women. And she started to wonder, why was that? So in 2017, the Denver-based author and high school teacher decided to research the mysterious women behind the names of some of Colorado's landmarks. That culminated in her new book called Her Place on the Map, 18 Women and the Colorado Wonders Named for Them. It's part trail guide and part history lesson, exploring 18 Colorado trails, mountains, and lakes, and the stories of the women for whom these places were named. I spoke with Sarah about the book earlier this year. Today, as we celebrate the day Colorado became a state 149 years ago, we're listening back to that conversation. Sarah began by talking about how challenging it was to figure out who the real women behind the names were.
Well, I quickly discovered that the United States Geological Survey convention for naming places is that places named for men are named with their last names, and places named for women are named for their first names or for a nickname, like Mount Lady Washington or Lady Moon. That makes the search really challenging. So we can very easily trace whose last name was Long to find out who Long's Peak is named for. But to find out who Mount Alice is named for, who was the Alice? Who was Ida? Who was Hesse? The first names don't give us as many easy clues. There isn't always a record of why people put the names on the maps that they did.
Well, Sarah, let's talk about some of the stories you uncovered. And I want to start with Anna Dickinson, the woman behind Mount Lady Washington. It's a 13er next to Long's Peak. Briefly, who was Anna Dickinson?
Well, I could talk for a long time about Anna Dickinson. What's amazing about her in connection to Colorado is that in 1873, she was 31 years old. She and her brother came out here to hike the peaks of Colorado. That was her goal. And she inspired quite a bit of controversy. The Longmont newspaper reported the scandal that she had had her brother buy a pair of men's trousers in her size so that she could wear trousers to hike the mountains. And the way it was reported, it was written like a gossip piece, like this was just terrible that she would wear pants.
And how dare she?
Yeah. She did climb Long's Peak. She hiked it herself, not on horseback. The Hayden survey, which was naming the mountains at the time, they were enamored by her. They loved her energy and her spirit. She was not afraid to speak out about the issues that mattered to her. She was making a lot of money on the speaking circuit at the time, speaking about abolition and about equal rights for Black and white people, which was way ahead of her time. And they loved her, and they named Mount Lady Washington in her honor. And they also named Mount Dickinson, which is a smaller mountain, 11,000-foot mountain in Rocky Mountain National Park, in her honor. So unusual with the USGS convention that a mountain was named for a woman's last name. But Anna Dickinson was also, she had women as her lovers. She was open, didn't call herself a lesbian, but she was open about her relationships with women. And she, comfortably wore trousers to hike mountains. So.
She sounds like quite a character. Speaking of characters, we have to talk about Lady Moon next. People in Fort Collins are maybe familiar with Lady Moon Drive, but they may not know the story of Molly Moon. What makes her such a fascinating character?
Well, I actually have to look at my book to remember all her names because she had quite a few names. Her name was Catherine Cussing Kate Mary Grattan Louder Moon, and she was a character. There's an opera made for her. There were books written about her because people were so inspired by her story. What's interesting, though, is that the trail that's in the book named for her is the Molly Lake Trail, because she did go by Molly. And it's a very gentle, easy trail. It's so sweet. It goes through meadows of wildflowers, and you end up at a lovely lake on a big round boulder to have a good snack, and then you come back. The gentleness of the trail doesn't match the woman. Cussing Kate was her nickname from a teenager because when she was orphaned as a young teenager, she worked as a serving girl, and she was known for her language, for her colorful language. And she came out at 18 to Larimer County. She worked at Elkhorn Lodge, and she did get married. They lived on a ranch. But the story is that an English baron fell ill. His name was Cecil Moon, and they took care of him on the ranch. And she decided to hatch the plan to leave her husband and convince Cecil to marry her, which he did. And she became Lady Moon because he was a baron from England. He quickly regretted it. And when they got back to Colorado, he said he wanted a divorce. And she laughed at him and said, well, I tricked you into signing away all your money to me when you were drunk. So sure.
Oh, no.
She became actually the first woman west of the Mississippi to pay alimony to a man.
Wow.
So she just was a character.
Absolutely. I don't think I'll ever drive down Lady Moon Drive the same way again. I want to talk about Mount Evans, which was named after a territorial governor who played a role in instigating the Sand Creek Massacre. That has been renamed Mount Blue Sky. But I didn't know it was originally named for a woman. It was once called Mount Rosalie. Can you tell us about that story and why did they take the name Rosalie away?
Yeah, it was named Rosalie by Elbert Bierstadt and his friend who were hiking in the 1860s. And they named it to honor Joseph, the friend's wife. But the wife eventually became Elbert's wife, which is a whole other story. So the name was on the mountain. It was a 14er name for a woman for 30 years. But in 1895, the state of Colorado decided to rename that mountain to honor Governor Evans at the time. And women were protesting for the vote in downtown Denver. And it just felt like adding insult to injury. So there was a massive protest saying that how dare you take away this name of a woman from a 14er. And the rounded 13er next to the mountain didn't have an official name on the map. So it was named Rosalie Peak. But then, the joke is that all these years later, in 2020, Governor Polis helped rename the mountain Mount Blue Sky after lots of Zoom calls with Cheyenne and Arapaho community members and leaders.
Well, lastly, Sarah, some people might say, you know what, I don't need all of this information to get out in nature and enjoy a hike. Why do you feel it's important to know the story of the women that some of these beautiful places in Colorado are named for?
I think so much of our lives are fast-paced. We have so much information at our fingertips. And when we're outside and hiking, just being present in the world and enjoying the wildflowers and looking at the views, to know the story of people who have been there before, who wanted to honor someone who really mattered to them, who wanted to acknowledge, as the Cheyenne and Arapaho people did, that the blue sky needs to be something that is honored in the tallest mountain around. It makes our experience richer. It helps us slow down. It helps us engage a little bit more with the moment.
Sarah Hahn Campbell's new book is called Her Place on the Map. I spoke with her about it when it was published in May. You'll find more information in our show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.